How's it going, everyone? What you're going to see today is a Conquest Large Grand Bazaar style infantry map, and it will feature the M16A3, which I know for some of you won't bode well, but that's fine. I get it. Some of you don't like certain guns, some of you don't like the M16. Hey, I get it. You don't have to watch it. But that is the topic of what I wanted to talk about, so I do hope you stick around and listen to it. That is a topic I did want to talk about with regard to gun hate and like the hatred of some people for using certain guns and the whole crying, play the objective sort of thing I wanted to talk about today. But first, yeah, this is Conquest Large Grand Bazaar. What's weird enough is that there is a fellow YouTuber on here in my squad, on my team. Mr. Assault is in this lobby. And he did play in the match with me. I didn't actually, I personally don't know the guy. This wasn't planned. It's not like I messaged him or he messaged me to set up to play in a match together. We just happened to meet up at the same time, same place. It's pretty sweet. And you could tell this was when I got my PC. This is pretty soon after I got it. The reason being because I play in this server quite a bit. And the server stats were as if I had played in it once. So obviously you could tell the sample, this was early, you could tell the aim's a bit off and a bit times too. But the reason I wanted to show it was because A, Mr. Assault's in it, and that's pretty cool. Because I watched a lot of his montages back when I was still on console. So switching to PC and then actually improving on PC and getting a match with him early. Because I've played with a few YouTubers now, and he's one of them, and that's, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I don't usually get worked up about playing with or against people or anything. We're all human beings. We're all just playing a video game. Doesn't matter to me, but it is kind of cool to mention it. To say, oh, hey, I've seen that guy's videos, now I'm playing with him. Which is weird, because I'm sure some people get that opinion when they play in the same lobby as me. So it's kind of cool. Next, I did want to show it too, because it was my first 50-plus gameplay. In terms of kills, because my latest is 75 now, and I'm sure with the right lobby of partially incompetent players and the right circumstances I could probably beat it, because a lot of the time I don't really reach my full potential in lobbies because I either start terrible and end well, or I start great and end terribly, and the times in between resetting between good, bad, and then back to good, you lose 3-4 minutes worth of solid kill time. So that's potentially the difference between, say, 75 and 100 kills. But we'll see. This game's only got maybe 2-3 months worth of a lifespan left, so we'll see what it ends up being. We'll see. That's why I got it early, so I could use Battlefield 3 as my adjustment for Battlefield 4. But anyway, to get into the whole point of what I wanted to talk about today, I want to talk about a few things quickly. The first, of course, being the gun hate. I see it in my videos, X Factor's videos, the comment section and all that all the time, about people saying, oh, you should be using this gun, I can't believe you're using this gun, it's overpowered, underpowered, it doesn't take skill, all this other useless comments. But the thing about it, to me, what I really wanted to talk about with it was the fact that I don't like it when people use it as playing the objective course of action. It's never made sense to me as the logic behind it. They say using multiple guns makes you a better objective player because you could use multiple guns. And I take issue with this for two reasons. In that, A, most of the guns in Battlefield are pretty similar. It's not like one gun, in terms of the same class. All assault rifles are pretty similar, unless you're using, say, a SCAR, but they're okay, I'll explain it. The M16A3 and, say, the AEK have extremely fast fire rates, but little to no recoil if you can learn to control them, so it makes them deadly as long as you're able to manage the recoil in pretty much any range. That's what makes them great. That's why people use them. But it's balanced. The G3A3's got an extremely low fire rate, but the amount of suppression it unleashes per bullet and the amount of damage that it increases per bullet is higher than the other two. So it balances out. That's why I still find I can still beat all the AEKs and M16s with the G3A3. So the logic's not there. And the second reason is because a lot of the people saying that using multiple guns makes you a better play the objective player is bullshit. Because if you're, say, look at X Factor, he uses the M16A3 all the time. If he's habitually you know, perfect with it. If he's able to master the recoil, he understands what he's going to be doing, he's at his best when he's using it. Being able to play at your best and be at your highest comfort level theoretically puts you at your best and lets you play the objective to a much higher degree. So that's why the logic doesn't apply there. That's why I figure that argument is bullshit. So comfort breeds success. So people able to use something that they're most comfortable with will generally optimize their success. So that's why I don't like the logic there. Now, that being said, those of you that do hate certain guns, I get it. Not everyone has to like certain guns. Not everyone will. And most of all, as YouTubers, not necessarily as Battlefield 3 players, I get if you're constantly showing infantry highlights of the same gun, I can understand why you'd say, why don't you post other videos? Because I'm going to do it myself. This one happens to be an M16A31, and that's fine. I understand if you don't like it. But that being said, and I will post other guns, I do like posting, like I might be the exception to it, but I personally will watch, if I like the kind of player, like say X Factor, if he can put on a good show with any type of gun, I'll watch any video he has regardless of the gun. I'm not going to hate it because he uses an M16 and not a G3A3. But that's me. I understand if you don't like it. But the gun hate to me just never made sense. Just appreciate the video for what it is. If you want to see other guns, let them know in the comments. But just the continual M16A3, the logic doesn't make sense to me. The next thing I did want to talk about again was PC versus console players and the differences. I've been talking about this for a bit now, but I always get a lot of comments, and I like having conversations about them. Well, a couple of my subscribers last time, after I posted a couple of my highlights, were saying that, like, console players wouldn't have let that stand. PC players are so oblivious to the show around them. And I don't necessarily think that that's true, because I think that both of them have their both console and PC have their fair share of players that don't read their minimap and just don't know what's going on. Especially in the case of PC with the Humble Bundle lately, but we'll assume that's an outlier and that's not part of the process. For the most part, I'd say that they're pretty much even. The only real differences with regard to PC players is that there's a lot of them. So when you get a rush of, say, the Operation Metro Stairs and you're able to kill them, you might get 4, or you might get 4 on console, but you might get 6 or 7 on PC. That's the real difference. It's just there's so many more players, and sometimes when you're bunched up as a group and you're all fighting with more people on the stairs, all fighting for kills instead of forced to 8, you're all focused ahead, you're all shooting ahead, you're all distracted by the multitude of more players on your team, and I think that's more of a distraction than, say, 3 or 4 would, instead of one taking the back flank. So I think more players is definitely a factor with it. The other thing too, I think, is that you have to think, I don't think sometimes PC players are more oblivious. The reason being is that, well, before I interrupt myself, you have to look at this. This is a nice flank upcoming here of the perfect contradictory video clip of exactly what I'm talking about. It contradicts me so hard here. But anyway, I do feel that because there are so many more people to account for, it's like 32 on a team instead of 12 on PC versus console. It's not that they're oblivious, it's just there's so many people to account for. You can't possibly account for like 32 different players shooting at you from all sorts of different angles. So I might be, like, the guy shooting straight ahead might have killed 2 or 3 guys, and I kill him from a flank, and people would say, oh, he's completely oblivious. But the thing is, if he's being shot at from 4 or 5 different angles, you can't conceive the notion that he could account for all of them. He can't. It's just the way it is. And that's what I noticed that one of the bigger difference was when I jumped to PC, is that the same routes I would take on console wouldn't apply for PC anymore, because now there's a lot more people guarding that area, and there's a lot of other people shooting at me from an area that they would never shoot at me on console, just because there's so many more different people. And it's a big thing. It's a big factor that I think a lot of people overlook. It's a factor that I didn't account for when I first jumped to PC that I definitely am accounting for now, and that's why I think I'm improving vastly on PC. Is you get to notice the different habits and patterns of PC players that are far different from those on console. And those are the the bigger factors with it. But overall, I do feel it is lobby dependent. I don't feel that PC players necessarily are better. I don't feel that console players are necessarily better. I just feel... Plus the other thing you have to look at is with only 12 people, like say a quick example, in the metro stairs, with 3 different flanks up to each section, you could account 4 players to each section, and that's the team, versus console, or versus PC, where you could account 10 to each section with 2 to spare, and that's so much more people to account for. And it's when there's less people, and with 32 different people shooting at you, that's more guns, sounds, that's more grenades, more of everything you have to account for, versus console, that if it's only 4 people shooting and 3 aren't shooting and 1 does, that 1 guy is dead, and everyone's aware of him because his gun's going off. But you can't have that on PC because there's so many more. But that's basically why I feel it's lobby dependent, not venue dependent. But that's basically it. Let me know your thoughts. See you later.